The sleek human vessel Horizon Dawn glided through the star-studded void, its quantum engines pulsing with a soft blue glow. Inside the command deck, Ambassador Park Ji-ho adjusted his formal diplomatic uniform, the silver and blue fabric catching the starlight as he gazed out at their destination. The massive Galactic Council citadel hung in space before them, a spinning marvel of alien engineering that resembled a giant metallic lotus blossom, its countless spires and docks extending outward like petals catching cosmic rays. "Amazing, isn't it?" said Captain Lee Hana, standing beside him. 10,000 years of combined alien architecture and technology. Some say it's partly alive. Ji-ho nodded, his expression serious. "And today, humans finally get a seat at the gay table." He glanced at the data tablet in his hand, reviewing Earth's official request for recognition. Humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel only 70 years after splitting the atom, a technological leap that had taken other species millennia. The comms officer, Kim Tae-won, called from his station. "Ambassador, incoming transmission from the Citadel control." A holographic display flickered to life, revealing a tall, willowy being with iridescent skin and 4 arms. "Human vessel Horizon Dawn, this is Citadel control. Proceed to docking. Pay 117. Your escort awaits. Welcome to the heart of galactic civilization." As their ship docked with perfect precision, Ji-ho felt a flutter of nerves. He'd trained for this moment for years, but nothing could truly prepare him for being the first human to walk among 24 alien species in their seat of power. The airlock cycled open with a soft hiss, revealing their greeting party, 3 distinctly different alien beings. The tallest stood nearly 3 meters high with crystalline growths along its shoulders, while the smallest hovered at waist height, encased in a bubble of swirling mist. Between them stood a more humanoid figure with copper-toned skin and eyes that shifted color like oil on water. "I am Zandol," said the copper-skinned alien, bowing slightly. "Senior diplomatic liaison. These are my associates, High Elder Krell of the Lithoid Collective and Mist Speaker Pell of the Vaporians." Ji-ho bowed deeply in return. "I am Park Ji-ho, Ambassador of Earth and representative of humanity. We are honored by your welcome." As they walked through the Citadel's vast corridors, Ji-ho marveled at the diversity of life forms moving about their business. Beings of silicon, methane, and elements unknown to Earth science conversed through translator nodes or communicated in ways beyond human comprehension. Robotic assistants darted between groups, some simple drones, while others clearly possessed advanced intelligence. "The Council has granted you observer status for today's General Assembly," Zandol explained. "Tomorrow, your petition for recognition will be formally addressed." What the liaison didn't say, what Ji-ho could read in the subtle body language of the aliens they passed, was that humanity's arrival had caused quite a stir. Some species watched him with obvious curiosity, while others maintained a careful distance. In a private chamber before the assembly, Ji-ho was introduced to various representatives, the Zoltaran delegates, insectoid beings with compound eyes that caught the light like living emeralds, seemed particularly interested in human technological advancement. "How your species achieved quantum folding travel so quickly," chittered the lead Zoltaran, mandibles clicking. "Most fascinating, most concerning." From across the room, a hulking reptilian being observed with narrowed eyes. Ambassador Drex of the Sarkon Empire made no effort to approach the human, but his gaze never wavered. When Ji-ho was finally escorted into the Grand Assembly Hall, the majesty of it took his breath away. The circular chamber rose hundreds of meters upward, with delegates from 24 civilizations seated in tiered sections. Advanced holograms projected real-time translations, while emotion-sensing fields maintained diplomatic harmony. At the Psi Center was the speaking platform, where Ji-ho would soon make humanity's case. "The Council recognizes the human observer, Ambassador Park Ji-ho," announced the presiding voice, a being composed of swirling light patterns that seemed to float above the central podium. Walking to the platform, Ji-ho felt the weight of countless alien eyes upon him. The fate of Earth, humanity's position in this vast community of worlds, rested on his words. He took a deep breath, straightened his shoulders, and began. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, I bring greetings from Earth. We come seeking neither charity nor conquest, but connection. We are young among the stars by your measure, but we bring fresh perspectives and an unwavering spirit of exploration. As he spoke, Jiho noticed the council members' reactions. Some nodded appreciatively, while others exchanged concerned glances when he detailed humanity's rapid technological progress. From our first primitive tools to faster-than-light travel in less than 10,000 years, humanity has demonstrated an unquenchable thirst for knowledge and advancement, Jiho continued, his voice growing stronger. We believe this drive, this limitless potential, can benefit all species through mutual exchange and cooperation. At the words limitless potential, a ripple of unease passed through several delegations. The Sarkon representative leaned to whisper something to a neighboring delegate, who then glanced sharply at Jiho. Unknown to the human ambassador, deep in the secured chambers of the Citadel, automatic threat assessment algorithms had begun, cataloging human development patterns, comparing them against historical data from thousands of species. Warning indicators flashed on private screens viewed by senior council members. The classification Omega-class evolutionary divergence appeared alongside humanity's file, a designation used only 5 times in the Council's 10,000-year history. As Jiho concluded his address to polite applause, he felt satisfied with his performance. The seeds of diplomatic relations had been planted. Yet he didn't notice the subtle signals being exchanged among certain council members or the security drones that began monitoring his movements more closely. That evening, as Jiho returned to the human quarters, Captain Lee approached with a concerned expression. "Something wrong, Captain?" he asked. "Maybe nothing," she replied, keeping her voice low. "But our ship's AI reports unusual scanning patterns directed at our systems, and our request to bring additional security personnel aboard the Citadel was denied." Jiho frowned slightly. "Standard procedure for newcomers, perhaps?" "Perhaps," Lee said, not sounding convinced. "But I'd suggest caution, Ambassador. Not everyone here seems pleased by humanity's arrival." Jiho nodded, gazing out at the stars beyond the viewport. Somewhere among those distant lights, Earth waited for news of its welcome into the galactic community. He was determined to succeed, unaware that in secret chambers, certain council members were already discussing whether humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to flourish among the stars. Deep within the Citadel's secure core, 12 figures gathered around a circular table that seemed to float in darkness. This was the inner circle of the Galactic Council, a group whose existence was known to few. The chamber's walls displayed the vastness of space, giving the impression they sat among the stars themselves. "This meeting bypasses standard protocols," announced Elder Vox, the ancient silicon-based life form who had overseen council security for over 2 centuries. "What we discuss here will not enter official records." The air in the center of the table shimmered as a holographic display activated. A being materialized, tall and slender with skin like polished obsidian that reflected starlight from within. 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern glowed with an inner purple light. "High Seer Naxtul of the Ithvar," Elder Vox acknowledged with a respectful tone. The Ithvar were among the oldest species in known space. Their psychic abilities to glimpse probable futures had guided council decisions for millennia. Few had ever seen an Ithvar in person. They rarely left their homeworld. "I come with grave tidings." Naxtul's voice resonated directly in the minds of all present. "Our seers have focused on humanity's temporal wake. What we have witnessed disturbs us deeply." With a wave of his 6-fingered hand, the space above, the table filled with swirling images, Earthships spreading across the galaxy, human colonies multiplying at exponential rates, technological advancements occurring in decades rather than centuries. "Observe the probability stream 3 centuries hence," Naxtul continued. The images shifted to show humans in leadership positions throughout the galaxy. Earth vessels dwarfed current Council warships. In one chilling sequence, a planet that refused human diplomatic overtures was swiftly blockaded by a fleet that seemed to appear from nowhere. "They develop quantum tunneling weapons," gasped Admiral Kreth of the Sarkon military caste. That technology is theoretical at best. For us, perhaps, replied Naxtul. For humans, it becomes reality in less than 70 years. Ambassador Ziv, of the Crystalline Thom Collective, leaned forward. These are merely possibilities, correct? Not certainties? We examined over 10,000 probability streams, Naxtul replied coolly. In 83.7% of them, humanity achieves dominance. In 62.1%, they directly or indirectly cause the collapse of the current council structure. Silence fell over the room as the implications sank in. Their development curve is unprecedented, said Elder Vox, displaying data charts comparing human advancement to all known species. They mastered nuclear fusion just decades after discovering the atom. Their neural networks evolved from simple pattern recognition to consciousness in under a century. What of the peaceful outcomes? Asked Councillor Rill, whose gaseous form swirled with concern inside her containment field. Surely not all streams end in conflict. Those exist, admitted Naxtul. But even in peaceful scenarios, human influence fundamentally alters the balance of power. Current council structure cannot survive human integration at their rate of advancement. Admiral Kreth slammed a scaled fist on the table. The solution is clear. We must act now while we still hold advantage. A swift strike against their homeworld. Genocide? Interrupted Councillor Reel. Is that what we've become? Preservation, corrected Elder Vox. One species or the stability of thousands. The math is simple. As debate intensified across the Citadel, Ambassador Park Ji-ho was growing increasingly uneasy. He sat in his quarters reviewing his communications log with Earth. 3 scheduled transmissions had failed in the past day alone. It's just unusual interference patterns in this sector, explained the Citadel's communications officer, a blue-skinned humanoid whose smile never reached his eyes. Should resolve soon. Captain Lee entered his quarters, her expression tight with concern. Our security detail has been reduced again, she reported quietly. Apparently there's a biological contamination risk requiring additional screening. We're down to just 4 guards. Ji-ho frowned. That's the 3rd restriction in 2 days. I had to surrender my personal communication device this morning, supposedly for compatibility updates. Something's wrong, Lee whispered, glancing at the walls. The other diplomatic teams don't face these restrictions. And I've noticed increased security drones near our quarters. Ji-ho nodded slightly. I've requested an emergency transmission to Earth. If it doesn't go through by tomorrow, we implement contingency protocols. A soft chime interrupted them as the room's communication panel activated. Ambassador Park, came the smooth voice. Of Zandol, I'm pleased to inform you that the Council has arranged a special diplomatic dinner in your honor tonight. All senior representatives will attend. Ji-ho exchanged glances with Captain Lee before responding. I'm honored. Please convey my appreciation. When the connection closed, Lee stepped closer. I don't like it. This dinner wasn't on any schedule, which makes it the perfect opportunity to speak directly with council leaders, Ji-ho countered. If something's happening, I need to know what. Back in the inner circle chamber, the vote had been taken. Elder Vox's voice was solemn. It is decided then. 17 in favor, 7 opposed. Humanity is classified as a civilization-level threat. Ambassador Park will be eliminated tonight. The containment fleet will launch immediately after. Admiral Kreth's eyes gleamed. My vessels stand ready. We can reach Earth in 3 standard days using the restricted jump points. What of the 7 who opposed this action? Asked Councillor Rill, her gaseous form pulsing with agitation. They will be informed after the operation commences, Elder Vox replied coldly. Security protocols demand compartmentalization. As the meeting concluded, a silent signal transmitted throughout the Citadel. In hidden chambers, specialized operatives prepared. Security systems were subtly reconfigured, and a particularly exquisite neurotoxin, one that would leave no trace detectable by human technology, was carefully measured into a delivery system, designed to activate during the diplomatic dinner. Unaware of the danger awaiting him, Ji-ho dressed in his formal diplomatic attire, a specially designed uniform blending Earth's cultural elements with cosmic aesthetics. As he adjusted his collar, he noticed a small blinking light on his personal emergency beacon, a device hidden within his formal insignia that could send one final encrypted message to Earth if activated. Just a precaution, he told himself, hoping he was simply being paranoid. But years of diplomatic training had honed his instincts, and every one of them was screaming that something was terribly wrong at the heart of galactic civilization. As he left his quarters to attend the dinner, escorted by 2 Citadel guards, whose hands never strayed far from their weapons, Ji-ho couldn't shake the feeling that this meal might be his last among the stars. The grand banquet hall of the Citadel gleamed under the light of 1,000 floating luminescent orbs, each pulsing with different colored light that cast rainbow patterns across the gathered dignitaries. Ji-ho entered with measured steps, nodding respectfully to the assembled alien representatives. The room was a marvel of engineering. Its domed ceiling displayed a real-time view of the surrounding starfield, making it seem as if they dined at the edge of infinity. "Ambassador Park," greeted Zandal, approaching with arms outstretched in the human gesture of welcome that Ji-ho had taught him. "You honor us with your presence. Please, your seat is at the primary table." Ji-ho noted that Captain Lee and his remaining security detail were directed to a separate table far across the room, a subtle but effective way to isolate him. He caught Lee's eye briefly. Her slight nod told him she'd noticed it too. The central table was a crescent of polished material that resembled black marble, but seemed to glow from within. Seated around it were the most powerful beings in the known galaxy, the High Ministers of the Council races. Ji-ho was placed between the gaseous Ambassador Rill, whose containment suit hummed softly, and the massive reptilian Admiral Kreth, whose scales clicked against his ceremonial armor as he shifted to acknowledge the human with a grunt. "A historic occasion," announced Elder Vox, rising from the center seat. The ancient silicon being's crystalline form caught the light, sending prisms dancing across the table. The first human to dine in the Hall of Stars. Servants glided forward, some organic, others clearly robotic, carrying platters of exotic foods from 100 worlds. Before each guest, they placed dishes specifically prepared for their biology. Ji-ho's meal looked surprisingly Earth-like, something resembling roasted vegetables and a protein that had been shaped to look like Terran seafood. "We've studied your biological requirements extensively," explained Zandal, who stood nearby rather than taking a seat. "This meal was created specifically for human consumption." Ji-ho noticed a slight tremor in Zandal's hand, almost imperceptible, but there. The copper-skinned alien's eyes shifted color more rapidly than usual. He knows something, Ji-ho realized. Something's wrong. As was diplomatic custom, Ji-ho waited until Elder Vox took the first bite before reaching for his own utensil, a sleek implement that adjusted its shape to better fit his hand when he touched it. "Before we eat," interrupted Admiral Kreth, his voice a rumbling growl, "a toast to our guest." He raised a vessel filled with glowing blue liquid. "To humanity's potential." The way he emphasized the word potential sent a chill down Ji-ho's spine. Around the table, the other council members raised their drinks with varying degrees of enthusiasm. Ji-ho lifted his own glass, a crystal vessel containing what appeared to be water, but sparkled with tiny motes of light. "To peaceful cooperation. Among the stars," he countered smoothly. As he brought the glass to his lips, he noticed Ambassador Rill's containment suit pulse rapidly with an amber warning light. Directed at him? Was she trying to signal him? Too late, Ji-ho realized the trap. The first sip burned slightly, but not unpleasantly. He placed the glass down carefully, maintaining his diplomatic smile, even as his training kicked in. Poison. It had to be. But, showing he knew would close any escape options. "Tell me, Admiral," Ji-ho said casually, "your fleet exercises near the Centauri border. Are they standard procedure for welcoming new species?" Kreth's reptilian eyes narrowed. "You are well-informed, human. Knowledge is survival," Ji-ho replied, feeling the first numbness in his fingertips. The toxin was fast-acting. He estimated minutes, not hours. "Just as I know your vessels changed course 6 hours ago, toward Earth." A hush fell over the table. Elder Vox's crystalline form darkened slightly. "You see too much, Ambassador Park," Elder Vox said softly. "A common trait among your kind," we've observed. Jiho felt burning spread from his chest to his extremities. His vision began to blur at the edges. Across the room, Captain Lee had risen from her seat, sensing something wrong, but security drones had already positioned themselves between her and the main table. "Why?" Jiho asked, struggling to keep his voice steady as pain lanced through him. "We came in peace." "Your peace would consume us all," replied Elder Vox. "The Ithvar have seen it. Your species develops too quickly, adapts too readily. In 3 centuries, humans would dominate the galaxy. So you choose murder instead of cooperation?" Jiho's hand trembled as he reached for his water glass again, knocking it over deliberately. The distraction allowed his other hand to move to his chest insignia. "We choose survival," said Admiral Kreth, watching without emotion as Jiho began to gasp for breath. "Your world will be contained. Humanity will be managed." With the last of his strength, Jiho pressed the hidden emergency beacon on his insignia. A pinprick of pain in his thumb as it took a blood sample to verify his identity, then 3 rapid pulses against his chest to confirm activation. "You've made a mistake," Jiho whispered, slumping forward. "Humans aren't what you fear." His vision tunneled to darkness as he heard shouting. Captain Lee had drawn her sidearm, security drones converging on her position, the emergency beacon sent. Its signal, untraceable, using quantum entanglement technology that even the Council couldn't detect. A single compressed message burst transmitted across the void to Earth. "Council hostile. Assassination. Prepare." Jiho's last thought was of Earth's blue skies as consciousness faded. Across the chamber, Ambassador Rill watched in silent horror. She had voted against this action, but had been powerless to prevent it. Now, as medical drones rushed forward in a show of concern that would make the official record state they had tried to save the human, she knew a terrible line had been crossed. "Admiral," Kreth stood on the command deck of the dreadnought Inevitable Victory, the flagship of the containment fleet. 40 vessels of varying sizes formed a battle group unlike any assembled in centuries. The jump engines powered up, creating a swirling vortex in space that would take them to the Sol system. "The human ambassador has been neutralized," reported his second-in-command. "No communications escaped the Citadel." "Excellent," rumbled Kreth. "Begin the jump sequence. We will reach Earth in 68 hours. "Is such force necessary, Admiral?" asked his second. "Human defensive capabilities are primitive by our standards." "The Council does not take chances with Omega-class threats," Kreth replied. "We will offer them surrender terms, but if refused, their military installations will be reduced to ash." The fleet entered the jump point, disappearing in flashes of brilliant light. On Earth, in the heavily shielded Strategic Command Center beneath the Pacific Ocean, General Choi So-young stared at the message that had just appeared on her secure terminal. Authentication codes confirmed it came from Ambassador Park's emergency beacon, a system designed to work only in the direst circumstances. "Council hostile. Assassination. Prepare." She closed her eyes briefly, then hit the crimson button that would activate Global Defense Protocol Theta. "Get me the Security Council immediately," she ordered, "and initiate Dark Sky. All around the world, in secret facilities hidden beneath mountains, oceans, and deserts, systems that had been developed in anticipation of this very scenario began powering up. Quantum satellites previously disguised as weather monitoring stations shifted their positions. Beneath the lunar surface, automated defense platforms awakened. "How much time do we have?" asked the President when the emergency conference connected. "If they use restricted jump corridors, 3 days at most, General," Choi replied. "But we've prepared for this possibility. Operation Black Mirror." "Yes, Madam President, it's time to show the Council that humanity isn't as defenseless as they believe." As klaxons sounded in military bases worldwide, humanity prepared to fight for its very existence against an enemy that controlled 1,000 worlds. The coming darkness would change the galaxy forever. Admiral Kreth stood on the command bridge of the Inevitable Victory, watching as the massive warship emerged from the jump point at the edge of the Sol system. Behind his vessel, 39 Council warships materialized one after another, their weapon systems powering up in a synchronized display of overwhelming force. "Scan the system," Kreth ordered, his scaled hands clasped behind his back. I want full tactical assessment of their defensive capabilities. The ship's sensors swept outward, mapping the human solar system. Holographic displays showed the inner planets, with Earth shining blue and green in the third position from the star. "Initial scans complete, Admiral," reported his tactical officer. "We detect primitive orbital defense platforms, approximately 200 armed satellites, and a small fleet of military vessels near their moon. Nothing that poses any significant threat to our battle group." Kreth narrowed his reptilian eyes. "Too simple. The humans achieved faster-than-light travel. They should have better defenses." "Perhaps they focused their resources on exploration, rather than warfare," suggested his second-in-command. "Perhaps," Kreth replied, unconvinced. "Maintain maximum alert status. Prepare the communication array. I will offer them terms of surrender before we begin the orbital bombardment." As the fleet approached the orbit of Mars, an unusual energy reading caught the attention of the sensor officer. "Admiral, detecting unexpected activity from what appeared to be inactive satellites throughout the system," the officer reported, his four-fingered hands moving rapidly over the control panel. "Energy signatures are strange. They don't match any known technology in our database." Before Kreth could respond, the main view screen flickered. The image of a human woman in a black military uniform appeared. Her expression was calm but resolute. "Council vessels, this is Commander Kim Soo-jin of Earth Defense Forces. Your hostile approach has been noted. Cease your advance immediately." Kreth let out a barking laugh. "Bold words from a doomed species. I offer you one chance for partial survival. Surrender your military installations and accept Council oversight." Commander Kim's expression didn't change. "We are aware of Ambassador Park Ji-ho's assassination. We know your intentions. This is not a negotiation. It is a warning. Withdraw your fleet now." "You are in no position to make demands," Kreth growled. "Our intelligence shows your weapons are primitive, your defenses inadequate." "Your intelligence is flawed," Kim replied, simply. "Look to your homeworlds, Admiral." Throughout the Council fleet, alarm signals suddenly blared. On the command deck of the inevitable Victory, officers scrambled to make sense of the incoming transmissions. "Admiral," shouted the communications officer, "emergency signals from all Council worlds. They report darkness in the skies." "What nonsense is this?" Kreth demanded. The tactical display shifted to show live feeds from the 24 homeworlds of the Council species. Above each planet, the stars were vanishing, replaced by an expanding darkness that seemed to absorb light itself. On Kreth's own homeworld, the capital city's inhabitants stood in streets and plazas, pointing upward at the terrifying sight. The darkness wasn't complete. It appeared as a net or mesh, with tiny points of blackness connected in a pattern that covered the entire planet. Magnification shows millions, possibly billions, of microscopic objects, reported the science officer, voice trembling. "They appear to be artificial constructs, some form of drone technology." "Impossible." Kreth slammed his fist on the command console. "No species possesses technology that advanced, especially not humans." Commander Kim's voice cut through the chaos. "For the past 5 years, what you believed were standard trade beacons placed by human ships were actually quantum relay points. They deployed a special payload, self-replicating nanodrones that used the dust and debris in your systems to build more of themselves." The bridge fell silent as the implications became clear. "These drones are currently in a passive configuration," Kim continued. "However, they can be activated to form kinetic impact weapons capable of striking any point on your planets with precision. One command from Earth and your civilization's end." On the tactical display, new information appeared. Detailed scans of the human defenses that had suddenly revealed themselves. Massive weapon platforms emerged from hiding places within Earth's moon. Asteroid bases that had appeared to be natural bodies activated shields and weapon systems. Throughout the system, what had seemed like ordinary human trading vessels transformed, outer hulls reconfiguring to reveal advanced weapon arrays. "Your council believed we were naive," Commander Kim said, her voice level. "You should know that. Humanity has never contacted an alien species without preparing for the worst. It is in our nature. We hope for peace but prepare for betrayal." Kreth's second-in-command whispered urgently, "Admiral, Our worlds are completely exposed. Those nanodrones could penetrate any defensive shield we possess. On dozens of Council worlds, panic was spreading. The galactic communication network was flooded with terrified messages as billions watched the skies darken above them. In the Council citadel itself, Elder Vox and the other leaders watched in horror as live feeds showed their homeworlds under threat. "How?" demanded Elder Vox, his crystalline form pulsing with agitation. "How did they deploy this technology without detection?" On the main communication screen, Commander Kim's face appeared before the entire Council. "Your assassination of Ambassador Park triggered our contingency protocols," she explained. "What you're witnessing is Operation Black Mirror, humanity's insurance policy." She paused, letting the reality sink in for the assembled Council members. Ambassador Park carried a message of peace. "Your response has been noted. The darkness above your worlds is humanity's only warning." One of the Council members stepped forward, Ambassador Real, her containment suit pulsing with distress. "What are your demands?" she asked. "Justice," replied Commander Kim. "The architects of this attempted genocide will stand trial, the attack fleet will withdraw immediately, and the Council will recognize that humanity is not to be trifled with." Back. In the Sol system, Admiral Kreth stared at the tactical display showing his homeworld covered by the threatening nanodrone network. His clawed hand hovered over the command to launch weapons, a final, defiant gesture. "Don't," advised his second-in-command quietly. "They outmaneuvered us completely. We never saw their true capabilities until it was too late." With a growl of frustration, Kreth gave the order no Sarkon military leader had uttered in 5 centuries. "Stand down all weapons, prepare to reverse course." As the Council fleet powered down its weapon systems, unexpected transmissions began flowing into Earth's command center, not just from the Council, but from numerous species within Council space. Private communications from worlds that had opposed the action against Earth, offering alliance. Intelligence feeds from sympathizers who had disagreed with the attempted genocide. Commander Kim studied these messages thoughtfully. The galactic order was about to change dramatically, and humanity, far from being eliminated, would now help shape its future. "I believe," she said to her staff, "that Ambassador Park's final sacrifice may have secured not just our survival, but our place among the stars." Above 24 worlds, the darkness remained, a silent, watchful guardian of humanity's future. The Grand Council chamber had never been so silent. 2 weeks after the failed assault on Earth, representatives from all 24 member species sat in stunned disbelief as they watched the holographic presentation. Commander Kim Soo-jin stood calmly at the center of the chamber, controlling the display with subtle hand gestures. 5 years ago, she explained, this unassuming trade vessel visited the Proxima system. The hologram showed a small human ship, unremarkable in design. What you didn't detect was that it deployed the first quantum relay and seed nanodrones. The display shifted to show a map of Council space, with tiny points of light indicating human trade routes. With each step of the presentation, those routes formed an intricate web connecting every major world. "We established diplomatic contact only after our contingency measures were in place," Commander Kim continued. "Standard procedure for humanity when facing potentially hostile civilizations." Elder Vox's crystalline form had darkened considerably over the past days. "Your paranoia seems unjustified," he said stiffly. "Does it?" Kim swept her hand, changing the display to show Ambassador Park's final moments at the diplomatic dinner. "Your actions validated our caution." The Council chamber doors opened, and a delegation of human officials entered. At their center walked a figure that caused several Council members to rise in shock. Ambassador Park Ji-ho. "Impossible," whispered Admiral Kreth, now stripped of his military rank and awaiting trial. "I watched him die." The figure of Park Ji-ho stopped beside Commander Kim. A slight shimmer in the air around him revealed his nature, a perfect holographic projection, but a projection nonetheless. "Before any human leaves Earth on a diplomatic mission," Ji-ho's voice rang out clearly, "their consciousness is scanned and preserved. I am not the original Ambassador Park. He did indeed die at your hands. I am his digital continuation." Ambassador Rill floated forward in her containment field. This technology, to preserve consciousness, it's beyond even our most advanced theories. One of many technologies we developed but did not share, replied Kim. Now let us discuss humanity's terms. The holographic display shifted again, showing the nanodrone network still hovering above each council homeworld, like dark clouds. A simple demonstration followed. Over an uninhabited moon, a small section of the network activated. Thousands of nanodrones accelerated toward the surface at once. The impact created a crater visible from orbit. We could end all council civilization with a single command, Jiho's digital form stated plainly. Instead, we choose a different path. Commander Kim lifted a data crystal, placing it on the central platform where it projected a document titled, "The New Galactic Accord." "Our terms are simple," she said. "First, those responsible for the assassination and attempted genocide will stand trial, with the digital ambassador Park as witness." Admiral Kreth growled, but said nothing as guards moved closer to him. "Second, reparations will be paid to honor the human lives you were willing to sacrifice." Elder Vox's crystalline form vibrated with indignation. "The Council Treasury cannot... The Council's restricted technology database will be open to..." "Hearth," Kim interrupted firmly. "Knowledge is our preferred currency." Murmurs spread throughout the chamber. Those databases contained technological secrets hoarded for millennia. "Finally," Jiho continued, "the Council structure will be reformed. Humanity will hold a permanent seat, with veto power on military actions. Additionally, the 7 council members who voted against the attack on Earth will form a new ethics committee with oversight authority." Ambassador Rill's containment field pulsed with cautious hope. "You're not demanding control of the Council?" "We don't seek to rule," Kim replied, "only to ensure that what happened to Ambassador Park never happens again, to any species." The debate raged for 3 days. Some council members threatened to withdraw rather than accept human terms. Their resolve crumbled when their own populations, having seen the darkness hovering above their worlds, demanded acceptance of human terms over risking extinction. The trial was broadcast to every world in council space. In a specially designed courtroom, the digital form of Ambassador Park Jiho testified against his killers. The evidence was irrefutable. Councillor Vox, Admiral Kreth, and 15 others were found guilty of crimes against sentient life. Their punishment was not death. Humans rejected such primitive justice. Instead, they were sentenced to live among humans on specially established colonies, to learn firsthand about the species they had feared enough to try to destroy. "Your fear was based on ignorance," Jiho told them as the sentence was read. "Your rehabilitation will be based on understanding." 1 year later, at the signing of the new Galactic Accord, ships from 36 species gathered around Earth. The planet's orbital platforms, once hidden weapons systems, had been converted to diplomatic docking bays. The nanodrone networks remained above council worlds, but now served as communication relays and environmental monitoring systems. Ambassador Rill, now leading the new ethics committee, floated beside Commander Kim as they watched the proceedings. "Your species continues to surprise us," Rill's translated voice conveyed genuine admiration. "When you had the power to destroy, you chose to rebuild." "It's what humans do," Kim replied simply. "We can be terrifying when threatened, but we prefer to create rather than destroy." Below, on Earth's surface, in the central plaza of the newly constructed Galactic Embassy, a monument was unveiled. A life-size statue of Ambassador Park Jiho stood with hand outstretched in a gesture of greeting. Beside it, his digital form appeared as a hologram, continuing the work his physical form had begun. At the base of the monument, inscribed in both Earth languages and the common language of the Council, were the words that had become famous throughout known space. They thought they killed a diplomat. They awakened a species. In orbit above Earth, the flagship of the new unified fleet prepared for its maiden voyage. On its bridge stood Captain Lee Hana, once part of Ambassador Park's security detail, now commanding the most advanced vessel ever built, a collaboration of technologies from a dozen worlds. "Course laid in, Captain," reported her navigator. "Proceed," Lee ordered. "Let's show the galaxy what cooperation can achieve." As the massive ship activated its engines, a perfect fusion of human ingenuity and alien science, it streaked toward the stars, leaving behind a trail of light that symbolized the dawn of a new era. On countless worlds throughout the galaxy, beings of all forms looked up at night skies no longer darkened by threat, but illuminated by promise. The humans had come, not as conquerors but as catalysts for change. And in the digital realm where his consciousness continued, Ambassador Park, Jiho watched with satisfaction as his final mission, peace among the stars, became reality. The end.